noong Disyembre 18, 2025 sa exclusive private dinner party na ginanap sa luxury hotel sa Makati City kung saan approximately 200 high-profile guests from Philippine politics, entertainment, at business communities ay nagagather para sa Christmas celebration hosted by Governor Chavit Singson. 84 na taong gulang billionaire businessman, former governor ng Ilocos Sur for multiple terms, controversial figure known both for massive wealth accumulated through various business ventures including casinos at tobacco at for history ng political controversies, including involvement in exposing President Joseph Estrada's corruption in 2000 triggering EDSA Revolution 2, si Eman Bacosa, 31 taong gulang, acknowledged son ni Manny Pacquiao from outside relationship na publicly revealed through DNA testing noong 2023, triggering massive media attention at complicated integration into Pacquiao family, ay suddenly called to stage by Chavit himself sa harap ng buong crowd. Hindi sigurado si Emman kung bakit. Nag-attend lang siya ng party bilang guest through connection ng isang boxing promoter na kilala si Chavit. Never expected to be singled out publicly, nervously approached stage while approximately 200 pairs ng eyes watched curiously. At Chavit, standing sa microphone with characteristic showman flair, cultivated through decades ng public life, began speaking. Mga kaibigan, gusto kong i-introduce si Eman Bacosa, anak ng ating pambansang ama Manny Pacquiao. Napanood ko ang interview niya sa KMJS kung saan nagpakita siya ng bahay niya, ng circumstances niya, at nakita ko ang humility at determination niya despite challenges. Today gusto kong magbigay ng small token ng appreciation for his character, at pulled out thick envelope containing exactly 500,000 pesos in cash, amount na equivalent to approximately 3 to 4 months ng average Filipino worker's salary. Substantial sum especially for someone like Emman, na still building financial stability, handed envelope directly to Emman sa harap ng stunned crowd, plus several wrapped gifts na personal assistants brought to stage, designer watch from high-end brand, gift certificates to various establishments, symbolic gestures from wealthy benefactor to young man perceived as struggling despite famous parentage. At habang Emman received envelope with shaking hands clearly overwhelmed by unexpected generosity, Chavit added advice na would be captured on video and circulated widely on social media over following days. Kahit sumikat ka na ng husto, maging humble ka pa rin. Yan ang mahalaga. Humility at hard work. Emman, visibly emotional, tears beginning to form sa eyes visible to everyone watching, managed to stammer. Salamat po, Ninong Chavit. Hindi ko po ito in-expect. Sobrang salamat po. Using term Ninong, Godfather, showing respect to elder benefactor though they had no actual godparent relationship. Emotional reaction that seemed genuine rather than performative. Tears flowing freely as reality ng receiving 500,000 pesos, plus expensive gifts from stranger who believed in him hit emotionally. Moment na would be photographed from multiple angles, posted across social media platforms, generate hundreds of thousands ng comments, at trigger complex national conversation about Emman's relationship with Manny Pacquiao family, about whether public figures should help or publicity stunt, about whether Emman deserved sympathy or was exploiting famous surname, about what crying over money revealed about person's character at circumstances, pero beneath public spectacle was deeper story about complicated family dynamics, about what Manny had actually provided to Eman privately versus public perception, about tensions between Jinky Pacquiao's longtime personal assistant, Carlo Dipad, speaking out, defending Pacquiao family's generosity, claiming they had quietly supported Eman extensively, without publicizing help versus Eman's lived experience ng decades without acknowledged support, about broader questions regarding responsibility ng wealthy parents to all biological children regardless ng circumstances ng conception, about cultural expectations around family obligations in Filipino context, complex narrative that could not be reduced to simple hero or villain story, pero required examining multiple perspectives. Kumusta mga kaibigan? Bago ako magsimula sa absolutely emotional at deeply controversial story na ito, about Eman Bacosa, acknowledged son ni Manny Pacquiao, from outside relationship na revealed publicly noong 2023, at yung shocking moment noong Disyembre 2025, kung kailan tinawag siya sa stage ni Governor Chavit Singson sa private dinner party at binigyan ng exact na 500,000 pesos in cash, plus expensive gifts including designer watch at other items na nag-trigger ng intense public reaction. Particularly Eman cried openly upon receiving money, suggesting either genuine gratitude or possibly revealing extent ng financial struggles, despite being son ng one of wealthiest athletes in Philippine history. At deeper revelations na sumunod including Marlo Masangkay, na longtime personal assistant ni Jinky Pacquiao, publicly defending Pacquiao family, claiming they had extensively supported Emman privately, including shopping trips, gifts, financial assistance, na never posted sa social media, contradicting some public narrative about abandonment, creating complex competing accounts about what truth really is regarding Manny's support. Gusto kong malaman kung nasaan kayo nanonood at what you think about this complicated situation. Mag-comment kayo below ng detailed information. Taga saan ba kayo exactly? Manila kung saan maraming events happen. Cagayan de Oro kung saan lumaki si Emman. General Santos kung saan si Manny galing. Ilocos Sur kung saan si Chavit Governor. Other parts ng Pilipinas or abroad sa Middle East, USA, Canada, Europe, elsewhere. Share din your perspective. Do you think Emman deserves financial help from wealthy supporters, or dapat mag-rely lang sa sariling efforts? Do you believe Marlo Masangkay's claims na Manny quietly supported Emman extensively, or do you think that's PR damage control? Ano meaning para sa inyo ng crying over receiving money, genuine gratitude o sign ng deeper need? At very importantly, subscribe sa channel para sa more stories about Philippine celebrities, family dynamics, social issues, kasi need natin regular upload ng this type ng content. Exploring complicated real-life situations. Activate notifications para makita agad ang videos like para tulungan algorithm, share widely para mas maraming makakita. Ito ay story about generosity, family obligations, public perception versus private reality, complicated truths na hindi black and white. Simulan natin with full context. Si Eman Bacosa ay ipinanganak noong Marso 8, 1994 sa Cagayan de Oro City, capital ng Misamis Oriental Province sa Northern Mindanao, kay Rowena Bacosa na 24 years old noon, working as secretary sa small local law firm, earning modest salary approximately hanggang 10,000 pesos monthly, which was barely sufficient para sa single parent supporting child sa city, kung saan cost of living was lower than Manila, pero still required careful budgeting every month para makasurvive. Ang biological father ay si Manny Pacquiao, 15 years old pa lang noon in early 1994, already seriously pursuing boxing, pero not yet famous internationally. Relationship between Manny at Rowena occurred during complicated period, apparently around 1993-1994, when Manny's relationship status with future wife Jinky Pacquiao was unclear, with reports ng breakups at reconciliations, creating windows when technically single, exact circumstances never fully clarified publicly by either Manny or Rowena, who both maintained relative silence about details, preferring privacy. Critical fact is Rowena became pregnant, gave birth to Eman in March 1994, and raised him essentially alone without financial support or public acknowledgement from Manny for next approximately 30 taon, until DNA testing noong 2023 confirmed paternity with 99.9% certainty, triggering reluctant public acknowledgement. Lumaki si Emman knowing from relatively young age, approximately 8 to 10 years old according to later interviews, that biological father was Manny Pacquiao, who was becoming increasingly famous national icon, psychological burden na profound for young boy watching father on television becoming legendary boxer, wealthiest athletes of Philippine history, congressman then senator, national hero celebrated by millions, habang siya lived modest working-class existence in Cagayan de Oro, attending public schools, wearing hand-me-down clothes, seeing mother struggle financially to provide necessities, without any connection to father's wealth or celebrity status, without emotional relationship or guidance from father figure all children need, watching half-siblings, Jimwell, Princess, Queenie, Michael, Stephen, Mary, living in Forbes Park mansions, attending exclusive private schools, traveling internationally with every advantage, habang siya had basic necessities lang through mother's hard work. Inherently unfair situation that naturally created resentment alongside complicated feelings about wanting connection to absent father. Admiration for boxing achievements, conflicting with anger about abandonment. Pride's a genetic connection to national hero, conflicting with shame about illegitimate status in conservative Catholic Philippine culture, where children born outside marriage carry social stigma. Friends from childhood described Emman as unusually serious, sometimes bitter when discussing family or fairness, fiercely independent and determined to prove capability without advantages others had. After high school graduation from public school sa Cagayan de Oro approximately 2012, Emman pursued vocational training in business management, one-year course costing approximately 30,000 pesos. Total na Rowena helped finance through savings, practical choice given family couldn't afford 4-year university degree, costing hundreds of thousands. Graduated 2013, then began working various jobs. Sales clerk SA retail stores earning approximately 8,000 monthly, customer service representative at call center earning approximately 15,000 monthly starting 2015, eventually promoted to team leader position earning approximately 20,000 by 2018, respectable career trajectory for someone without university degree, proving intelligence at work ethic. Simultaneously maintained interest in boxing training casually at local gym called Mindanao Warriors, not seriously pursuing professional career initially, pero enjoying sport, perhaps unconsciously trying to connect with AB, sent father through shared activity. Built modest amateur boxing record approximately 15 wins at 6 losses. Competing occasionally sa regional circuits. Earned small prize purses ranging from 20,000 to 100,000 pesos per fight. Depending on level, combined with coaching income from teaching boxing fundamentals to beginners at gym earning approximately 15,000. Monthly, accumulated savings approximately 1 hanggang 2 million pesos by early 2020s. Through extra, merely disciplined saving, using money to help support Mother Rowena who was approaching retirement. Eventually buying modest house sa decent neighborhood sa Cagayan de Oro, worth approximately 4 million pesos in 2025, using combination ng boxing earnings at savings, achievement he was proud of, as first major asset ownership, representing financial independence from Pacquiao family wealth, technically available, pero which he refused to rely on, out ng pride, at desire to prove self-sufficiency. Then came August 2023 revelation, na fundamentally changed his public status. DNA test results confirming Manny's paternity were leaked to media, triggering massive coverage. Manny reluctantly acknowledged publicly after decades ng silence. Complicated integration process into Pacquiao family began with initial meetings characterized by awkwardness and emotional tension, particularly from half-brother Jimwell, who resented Emman receiving attention at opportunities. Jinky maintained polite distance, understandably uncomfortable given circumstances. Manny himself was cordial pero not emotionally close initially, gradual warming over months as family adapted to new reality. Pero critically for this story, public narrative about Emman's circumstances was shaped heavily by Jessica Soho's KMJS interview, aired approximately October 2025, kung saan Emman allowed cameras into his home, showing modest living conditions. Simple concrete house with basic furniture, small bedrooms, minimal luxuries. Appearance that shocked many viewers who expected son ng Manny Pacquiao would be living in mansion with every advantage. Disparity between public expectation and actual circumstances triggered intense social media reaction with thousands ng comments, questioning why Eman appeared to be struggling financially if father was worth hundreds of millions. Criticism directed at Manny for allegedly abandoning son, even after acknowledgement. Speculation that acknowledgement was purely symbolic without material support narrative that Emman was victim ng wealthy father's neglect became dominant frame in public discourse, especially among working-class Filipinos, who identified with Emman's modest circumstances, seeing him as representation ng their own struggles against inequality at privilege. This public narrative was reinforced when various celebrities at wealthy benefactors began publicly gifting Eman Celebrity doctor couple Hayden Kho at Vicki Belo offered free comprehensive aesthetic package worth approximately 5 million pesos. Swiss watch brand Swatch signed him as ambassador with compensation. Various endorsement deals totaling approximately 30 hanggang 40 million pesos annually emerged, based primarily on his compelling underdog narrative, Gifts from Wealth. His supporters became somewhat regular occurrence, each generating social media content at reinforcing perception na outsiders were helping Emman more than his own father. At then came Chavit Singson's very public gift ng 500,000 pesos plus designer items sa December party, moment na seemed to crystallize narrative. Ang December 18, 2025 party ni Chavit Singson, kung saan nangyari ang dramatic gift-giving moment, ay initially planned a standard Christmas celebration para sa political allies, business partners, at entertainment industry friends, approximately 200 guests na mix ng governors, mayors, congressmen, senators, prominent businessmen, celebrity endorsers, boxing promoters, media personalities, held sa grand ballroom ng luxury hotel sa Makati, with extravagant catering, live band entertain me, and expensive wine flowing freely. Atmosphere ng conspicuous wealth display typical ng Philippine elite gatherings. Chavit himself circulating among guests sa his characteristic style. Loud, gregarious, generous host who enjoyed being center of attention. Wearing expensive barong Tagalog with gold accessories. Distributing gifts at cash envelopes to various attendees in public displays ng generosity that served both genuine charitable impulse at calculated image building as benevolent patron. Known for decades ng giving substantial amounts to boxers, athletes, entertainers, politicians, anyone who caught his favor or who he calculated would benefit his political or business interests. Emman attended party, not as major guest pero, through invitation from boxing promoter named Tony Aldeguer, who knew Chavit at thought attending, would be good networking opportunity for Eman, who was trying to build boxing career at expand connections in sports industry. Emman arrived approximately 7 p.m., wearing his best formal attire. Rented barong kasi hindi niya afford bumili ng maayos na formal wear. Clearly somewhat uncomfortable sa opulent surroundings, surrounded by wealthy, powerful people are outside his usual social circles. Stayed mostly sa periphery talking with few people he knew from boxing world, not expecting to be noticed by Chavit, who was busy entertaining more prominent guests. Pero apparently Chavit had specifically asked organizers to make sure Emman was present. Kasi Chavit had watched KMJS interview, had been moved by Emman's story. Particularly aspect about modest living conditions. Despite famous father, Chavit, who himself came from political dynasty, and understood both PR, village at importance ng public image, decided to make gesture. Around 9:30 p.m. after dinner, when party was at height ng socializing, Chavit suddenly took microphone at stage usually reserved for band, called for everyone's attention. Crowd approximately 200 people gradually quieted, curious about announcement. At Chavit began speaking sa his distinctive style, mixing Ilocano accent with English at Filipino. Mga kaibigan, I want to talk about someone special na nandito tonight. Marami sa inyo ang nakakilala o nakarinig kay Eman Bacosa, anak ng ating pambansang kamao Manny Pacquiao. Napanood ko ang interview niya sa KMJS kung saan pinakita niya ang bahay niya, ang buhay niya, at nakita ko ang humility niya, ang determination niya despite challenges na facing niya. This young man, instead of demanding privileges kasi anak niya ng legend, he's working hard, boxing professionally, trying to build his own name. That's admirable. That's the kind ng Filipino youth we need to support. Crowd murmured appreciatively, though some probably wondering where this was going. At Chavit continued. So tonight gusto kong magbigay ng small token ng support. Eman, please come up here. Spotlight swung toward area kung saan Emman was standing, clearly caught completely by surprise. Hesitated for a moment, unsure if appropriate to refuse or if that would be insulting. Decided to comply. Nervously walked toward stage while guests watched, some pulling out phones to record what was clearly going to be a significant moment. Chavit greeted him warmly sa stage with arm around shoulder, sa paternal gesture, positioning them both to face audience. At began explainin. Is a crowd though really performing for broader audience he knew would see this via social media. Emman, I know you're working hard sa boxing, training every day, fighting to build career. I know hindi madali. Prize money sa amateur boxing is small. Expenses are high para sa proper training, nutrition, equipment. I know you're doing everything sa sarili without asking for handouts. That's why I want to help. Pulled out thick white envelope from pocket clearly prepared in advance, held it up for everyone to see, creating dramatic tension. Nandito 500,000 pesos. Small amount lang for someone like me, pero sana makatulong sa training mo, sa needs mo, sa family mo. Handed envelope directly to Emman, whose hands visibly trembled receiving it. Amount na equivalent to approximately 3 to 4 months ng average worker's salary. Substantial sum, especially for someone earning modest boxing purses at coaching income. Emman stared at envelope, clearly overwhelmed by unexpected generosity from someone he barely knew. Then Chavit's assistants brought forward several wrapped gift boxes. At meron ding gifts. Designer watch, gift certificates, small tokens na sana magustuhan mo. Packages placed in Emman's arms, until he was holding stack ng gifts plus envelope, physically burdened with manifestation ng Chavit's generosity. Chavit wasn't done, added final advice na would become most quoted part ng interaction. Emman, tandaan mo lang, kahit sumikat ka na ng husto, maging humble ka pa rin. Yan ang mahalaga. Ang humility at hard work ang magdadala sa'yo to success, hindi ang pagmamalaki, or ang feeling entitled kasi anak ka ng legend. Stay humble, keep working hard, at you'll succeed sa sarili mong terms. Audience applauded enthusiastically, some genuinely moved by generosity, though others perhaps cynically recognizing publicity value ng gesture. At Emman, clearly struggling to process emotions flooding him. Gratitude, surprise, relief, perhaps also complicated feelings about receiving charity when really wanted to succeed independently. Maybe thoughts about why stranger was giving him $500,000 while own father's support. Was questioned publicly. Began crying, tears flowing freely down cheeks visible to everyone watching. Managed to stammer emotional response. Salamat po, Ninong Chavit. Hindi ko po ito in-expect. Sobrang salamat po. I promise po I'll use this wisely. Para sa training ko, para sa family ko, at I'll remember po ang advice ninyo about staying humble. Maraming salamat po. Use term Ninong, godfather, as sign ng respect to elder benefactor though had no actual godparent relationship. Culturally appropriate honorific for older patron figure. Emotional display was captured from multiple angles by guests recording on phones. Within minutes, clips began circulating on social media, particularly Facebook and Twitter, where they spread rapidly among Filipino audiences, both domestically at SA diaspora communities abroad. Comments flooded in a thousands, overwhelming majority positive praising. Chavit for generosity, at Emman for humility, a genuine emotional reaction. Pero narrative also inevitably turned to comparison with Manny Pacquiao, na became subject ng renewed criticism. If stranger is giving Eman 500K, bakit hindi sariling father? Chavit is more generous to Emman than Manny ever was. This shows how abandoned Emman truly is, that random benefactor has to step up. Variations ng these sentiments repeated thousands ng times, creating viral narrative na Chavit's gift highlighted by contrast. Manny's alleged neglect story na would dominate Filipino social media for several days, generating millions ng engagements until counter-narrative emerged from unexpected source. Approximately 2 araw after Chavit incident, around December 20, 2025, Facebook page called Carlo Dipad 2.0 posted lengthy statement attributed to Marlo Masangkay, described as longtime personal assistant ni Jinky Pacquiao working for family approximately 15 hanggang 20 taon. Inside position that theoretically gave him direct knowledge ng family's private interactions and financial transactions, including any support provided to Emman before or after public acknowledgement. Post was deliberately framed as defense ng Pacquiao family against mounting criticism triggered by Chavit incident. At broader narrative about abandonment, Marlo's statement was detailed at emphatic. Nais kong linawin ang ilang bagay tungkol sa usapin ng suporta kay Eman Bacosa. Kasi personally ako ang nakasaksi sa mga pangyayari, having worked as personal assistant ng Pacquiao family for many years, directly witnessing interactions at transactions. Kung tulong at suporta ang pag-uusapan, sobra-sobra ang binigay ni na Sir Manny at Madam Jinky kay Emman from moment ng acknowledgement noong 2023 hanggang present. Maraming instances ako mismo ang kasama when Sir Manny personally took Eman at siblings niya shopping para sa damit, sapatos, personal items. Sinasabi, bilhin mo lahat ng gusto mo, don't worry about price, this is time to enjoy. Very generous attitude contrary to public perception ng neglect. Statement continued with specific examples attempting to establish credibility through concrete details. I witnessed personally multiple occasions kung saan Sir Manny gave substantial cash gifts directly to Eman, not just thousands pero hundreds of thousands of pesos, without fanfare or social media posts. Kasi philosophy ng family, especially Madam Jinky, is that genuine help should be private, not publicized for credit. Isa ako sa mga taong makapagtestigo na kung tulong ang pag-uusapan, kahit kailan hindi pinabayaan ni Sir Manny ang anak niyang si Emman from moment ng acknowledgement. Binigyan ng house at lot location withheld for privacy, binigyan ng vehicle para sa transportation needs, regular financial allowance, monthly amount withheld pero substantial. Lahat ito hindi po post sa social media kasi ayaw ng family ng showing off, pero real support na binigay. Most specific claim at potentially verifiable was about expensive watch. Maraming nag-comment about gift ni Dr. Hayden Kho ng designer watch questioning bakit hindi si Manny makabigay ng relo sa anak. Totoo po is Sir Manny actually gave Emman an expensive Patek Philippe watch worth approximately millions of pesos. Shortly after acknowledgement in 2023, very expensive luxury timepiece na far exceeds value ng any gift from outside benefactors. Pero Emman chose not to publicize this gift for whatever personal reasons. So when people say Manny never gave gifts, mali ang information, binigyan extensively pero privately as family prefers. These claims were explosive if true, because completely contradicted dominant public narrative, suggested Emman had been receiving massive support privately, while allowing public perception ng abandonment to continue presumably, because that narrative was commercially valuable for his brand deals at public sympathy. Post continued with pointed message directed at Emman himself. Ikaw naman sana Emman, alam mo sa sarili mo kung gaano kahal ka ng daddy mo at ng family. Alam mo lahat ng tulong na naibigay from house to vehicle to cash to gifts. Bakit hindi mo lilinawan sa public ang truth? Bakit pinapayagan mo ang narrative na pinabayaan ka when you know personally na extensively supported ka? Hindi ba unfair yan sa parents mo na quietly helping ka pero publicly being crucified for alleged neglect? Tone shifted from defensive to accusatory, implying Emman was deliberately manipulating public perception by omission, allowing false narrative to persist because benefited his image as struggling underdog, thereby increasing endorsement value at public sympathy. Serious accusation na if proven, would significantly damage Emman's reputation and credibility. Marlo's statement concluded with philosophical observation. Ang mga naitulong ni Sir Manny kay Emman ay hindi na kailangan pa i-post sa social media para ipakita sa mundo. Real generosity is private, hindi naghahanap ng credit or validation. Sana lang maintindihan ng public na hindi lahat ng tulong ay dapat i-broadcast, some things are kept within family as should be. At sana si Emman ay maging fair sa parents niya by being honest about support received instead of allowing people to believe he's abandoned when truth is very different. Appeal both to traditional Filipino values about private family matters, add to fairness in public discourse, attempting to reframe narrative from Manny abandoned Eman to Manny supported Eman extensively pero privately, while Eman allowed false abandonment narrative to persist for personal benefit. Public reaction to Marlo's saint. Atement was immediate and deeply divided, revealing existing fault lines in how people perceived situation. One camp, primarily Manny Jinky supporters at people generally skeptical ng victim narratives, embraced Marlo's account as confirmation ng what they'd suspected, argued that Emman was exploiting famous surname while biting hand that secretly fed him, pointed out commercial value ng underdog narrative as motivation for Emman to maintain false impression ng neglect, demanded receipts or proof and G-support Marlo claimed to have witnessed. Opposite camp, primarily Emman sympathizers at people critical ng wealthy elites, dismissed Marlo's statement as transparent PR damage control, questioned why statement came from assistant not family members themselves if true, argued timing was suspicious coming immediately after Chavit incident generated negative attention, noted vagueness about amounts at lack ng specific documentation, suggested if Manny truly gave millions in gifts why wouldn't Eman show gratitude publicly, maintained that Emman's emotional reaction to Chavit's gift proved genuine financial need, contradicting claims ng extensive secret support. Debate intensified over following days as various people weighed in, boxing analysts, entertainment commentators, social media influencers, even some politicians, each bringing their perspective at biases. Nobody had definitive proof either way, creating space for competing narratives to coexist. Caught in middle was Eman himself, who suddenly faced pressure to respond to Marlo's specific accusations, either confirming secret support at explaining why he'd allowed false narrative to persist, or denying support at potentially accusing family assistant ng lying, which would escalate family conflict publicly. Difficult position with no clear winning option.